Meeting come to order. Special intentions, Councilwoman DeFrances.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Council President. We spoke about our Director of our Motor Vehicle Department, Ronnie Vitarella. He is an absolutely, not just a great director, but a wonderful human being who I truly, truly admire. I was at the hospital the night he was brought to the hospital in the emergency room, and I saw him the next day, and I can tell you from that day to when he was released on Tuesday, on Monday, he was full of vim and pepper. But unfortunately, he still has a long road of recovery to find out exactly what occurred and why. And so he truly needs our prayers for not only through this to recover everything he's been through, but also to find out the cause. And he will be going to University Hospital in the near future as he gets stronger. So he desperately needs your prayers. So please keep him in your prayers.
Thank you. Councilmember Hand, please lead us in the prayer.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, I thank you for everyone here today. We gather to pray for peace in our country and our city as new changes are taking place. Please keep us united and our bond strong as the days pass. We ask you, Lord, to guide us, protect us, and equip us to do your will in our lives, for each other, and for our city each and every day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Councilmember Moreno, if you lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum this evening. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Council members, do we have any resolutions, motions, or items from the floor this evening? Hearing none, we will move on to the consent agenda this evening. Under the consent agenda, I have item 1, approval of minutes, the council meeting of May 17, 2018. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. Item 2A is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Celebracion Hispana de Kenner, Incorporated, on August 11, 2018, at 303 Williams Boulevard, being property owned by the city of Kenner. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 2094-18, the Treasure Chest Casino to hold a public gathering on July 3, 2018, from 9 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. for the purpose of a fireworks show at Lake Town. Item 3B is application number 2095-18, Jefferson Chamber of Commerce to hold a public gathering on October 21, 2018, from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. for the purpose of a bike ride gathering at the Kenner Pavilion. Item 3C is application number 2096-18, Celebracion de Hispana de Kenner, Incorporated, to hold a public gathering on August 11, 2018, from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the purpose of a St. Dominic Fest at Kenner Heritage Park. Item 3D is application number 2097-18, Shabry Green, to hold a public gathering on June 16, 2018, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. for the purpose of a block party at 1020 Compromise Street in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3E is application number 2098-18, Mitchell Brothers and Sons, Incorporated, doing business as Mitchell Brothers Amusements, to hold a public gathering on June 14th through the 17th of 2018, from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the purpose of a carnival at the Esplanade Mall in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, a report from Mayor Zahn.
Mayor Zahn, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Council Chairman. I have a few things to go over tonight. First, I'll start with sales tax numbers. And before I state these sales tax numbers, we are going down in sales tax. I know some like to say, because I know the public's going to see this, and I hope they do, some like to say that during the mayor's campaign, I said things were good. Things are good in the city of Kenner. Things are good as we're opening businesses in the city of Kenner and cutting ribbons. However, you've heard me always say sales tax numbers are having an issue. So just for the record, sales tax numbers are having an issue in the city of Kenner. It has fluctuated over the last year. It's been fluctuating before that, but our last year it's been fluctuating greatly, probably more than ever, such as starting with, for the last year, we are 14% down the actuals from last year. That's only about $43,000, maybe right at $44,000. The mall, however, is 24% down. That's March of 2017 to March of 2018. That's about $108,000 for that year. We have to watch these things. I've been saying that, but as you look at what we're doing throughout the city of Kenner, with the help of Councilman Klein, Councilman Wilmot, and Councilwoman DeFrancis, and also Councilman Brannigan, Councilman-elect Brannigan has stepped in. If anyone has looked at the Pavilion Shopping Center lately, which I'm sure you all have, it looks a lot better. Why? Because we are, the administration and this council, and those particular council people that I thank for stepping in and putting the pressure on the pavilion owners. And if you've seen it, it looks a lot better because it's being painted. So I want to thank you, Councilman Klein, for stepping up to the plate, along with Councilman Brannigan, and also you, the two at-larges, for what you have done. And that hopefully is going to attract some business. We're hoping that. We still need an anchor there, more than probably at home, but we still can look at someone, it's appetizing for someone to move in. So those things will help increase our sales tax. Like I said also during the mayor's race, those are the things that we have to do. We have to make sure that we push these property owners to take care of their property, residential, but also commercial. And I believe we're doing a pretty good job of that. One needs only to look at the Pavilion Shopping Center. We skip across the street on Chateau to the Kalis property, and the Kalis family is working very closely with us. You all know that, these same council people I just mentioned before, because of your hard work, making sure that that gets done along with my administration and also code enforcement. So I want to recognize code enforcement for those two areas. We come to the Esplanade Mall. I've been saying we need to focus on these other two properties and look at the mall, keep an eye on it. There is talk that it has been sold again. We're checking into that. It has not been the easiest thing to get information from the Esplanade Mall, as you particularly know, Councilman Klein and Councilman DeFrancis. We can't get a lot of information from them. Hopefully, within the next few weeks, we'll know that. That's going to be important to watch, but we need to focus on the smaller ones first and see what's going on and try to help those properties as quickly as we can. People are going more to the pull-up situation, pull right up to the store, get out and go in. The malls throughout the country are having a problem. It's not unique here. Look in Metairie. Babies R Us, I think, is going out of business. Toys R Us is out of business, and there's been some other ones. We did lose one also in Jefferson Parish, District 4, but then our Councilman Dominic Impastato was able to bring Marshalls back right on the outskirts of the city of Kenner, so we appreciate that. Hopefully that's going to happen here also. The good news is the city has paid off the Target TIF. We estimate that bringing in an extra $200,000 for our next year's budget. So those are good things, and again, I want to give credit to those same council people for working. I won't credit George with that because he's not here yet, but the same council people here working on that have made sure that worked with Target. I was part of that council when we brought that in, Councilman DeFrancis, and I appreciate your help on that. I spoke a little bit about our parish councilman, Dominic Impastato, what he's doing in his district, but it's nothing like the parish councilman to stop by and actually give a few words. So in my mayor comments, I want to yield to the mayor of District 4, Jefferson Parish, our Parish 4 councilman, Jefferson Parish, Dominic Impastato. Councilman Impastato.
Councilman, good evening.
Thank y'all for.
Over there.
And I broke something on my way. Sorry. We'll just take it out the parish budget. At the mayor's request, one of the things we talked about once I was elected in October is trying to make sure that we have, from the parish council and the parish government, an active presence here in Kenner on a regular basis. And so at the mayor's request, what we've wanted to make sure is that our office in District 4 for Jefferson Parish is here at Kenner at all times. And what you've seen, I don't know if you've noticed, at all of your council meetings in the last 7 months, you've had our office has been here. Jason Ural from our office, who's one of our aides, is here every council meeting to make sure that should there be any issues that arise, any questions that arise that might relate to the interplay between Jefferson Parish government and the City of Kenner government, we're here to answer. I also have with us tonight a familiar face and friend to the City of Kenner, Mike Quigley, the former CAO here, who everyone up here worked extensively with. But what I want to do is just take a minute or two to talk about some of the things we have going on from the parish side that most of, pretty much all, I believe, the council members are aware of, because we've been coordinating with each of you as they've come up, and the mayor as well, but also for the members of the public who may be watching or or are here right now, to kind of know some of the things that are going on. And coordination between the parish and the City of Kenner has been absolutely critical to getting a lot of things done in just 6 short months. That's certainly what Mayor Zahn ran on, is the ability to collaborate and communicate across those lines and manage that interplay. And I think we've done an excellent job because of the teamwork between the council, the mayor, and myself and our office. First of all, one of the things we have going on is the Wood Lake Pumping Station project is underway. The design is underway. This actually started when Mayor Zahn was the parish councilman for Jefferson Parish, and I was the District 5 councilman in Kenner, and we jointly funded the initial feasibility study. That feasibility study came back and showed us ways that an additional pumping station can relieve potential flooding concerns on the Loyola Vintage area. Not just, it would be housed within Wood Lake subdivision, but it's intended to relieve water challenges, let's call it, all along Loyola and in Vintage as well. We're now at the parish funding the design phase of that. A request for the funding of that project to the tune of $7+ million was made to the Louisiana legislature during this session. We have not gotten a report back from our legislative delegation to see where that went. It was a very low priority. I will say, of the 63 parish ranked priorities, it was, I think, 62 out of 63. So I can't say that we were taking out any mortgages based on the assumption we're going to get those funds. But it's certainly out there, and it's one we're going to continue to actively pursue, and is a joint effort between the parish and the city. We just recently had a meeting with the director of the Regional Planning Commission, or the outgoing director of the Regional Planning Commission, Walter Brooks, within the last week, discussing a myriad of issues, one of which I'm going to talk about in a second. And the airport access road discussion came up during that. And just to let everyone know, I know the mayor certainly has been well aware. There were certainly some, let's call it, lack of information issues, particularly with the citizens in Kenner, as to what was going to happen with the future flyover. We'll use the term flyover. Well, apparently it was narrowed down to 3 particular designs at the Regional Planning Commission, with an idea that there was one that was most likely going to be the one that was going to get approved. Well, we have potential indication, nothing official, that there may be some hesitation on that model. So that's certainly a discussion that's still going to be taking place. And one of the things we want to make sure of is, as soon as we get wind of something at the parish that affects the City of Kenner, we know. We literally just found out about this within the last couple days. So we need to just keep our eyes on that to make sure that doesn't present a long-term problem. With the Regional Planning Commission, this was the source of our meeting in District 3. We're undertaking the design of the Vintage walking and bike trail that will run from Wilson Drive along the Canal Vintage to Power Boulevard and connect what was built under the 2030 plan, the bike and walking trail along Powell Boulevard. That is being funded by the Regional Planning Commission with a 20% match from the City of Kenner / Jefferson Parish out of the District 4 and the administration's funds. So that's going to be a couple $1 million project. It's in design phase, so it's not construction ready or anything like that, but within the next hopeful 12 months, construction will start. We also are in the process of, in conjunction and collaboration with Councilman Segura, repaving and some streets in the City of Kenner along the Roosevelt area. It's a project that was started on the Metairie side, and where a series of streets were being repaired under the road bond project, and our office looked at it and said, well, you know, this could extend into Kenner, and maybe we could provide some relief and complete the Kenner side of those streets as well. We contacted Councilman Segura and the mayor, and it looks like through a joint effort and joint funding, we're going to be able to complete that project to repave those streets. I don't remember off the top of my head which streets those are. I know Councilman Segura is aware, but it's along Roosevelt. Also, I believe last meeting, Jason Earl from our office discussed or announced that the excavator, we were able to not technically procure, but let's say lease with no payment from the city of Kenner. We're long-term leasing an excavator from Jefferson Parish to the city of Kenner. And that took a little bit of legal work, let's just say, by the lawyer / councilman, but we got it done, and so we're continuing to be able to provide resources to the city of Kenner as are needed, and we're certainly there to make sure that happens. I know there's been a couple of water mains that have had some challenges, particularly in the Chateau area. My understanding is all of those, as of this time, have been taken care of. As I know the mayor reported, Councilman Spears and myself, the District 4 office, funded the repairs, or a portion of the repairs, in connection with funding provided by the city of Kenner. And on that, I just want to plead to you as my colleagues and friends, and to everyone here, as issues come up that might relate to the parish, as soon as we know, as soon as we get alerted, whether it's midnight, 5 in the morning, or 5 o'clock in the evening, we'll certainly jump on it, and we're available. Please don't hesitate to let us know what we can do to fix. I consider those minor problems. I mean, certainly not minor if you live on the street and it's your water main that was busted. But in the big scheme of dollars and the work involved, it's something we can fix and take care of pretty quickly. And as I understand it, the most recent water issue in Chateau, the COO for Jefferson Parish, Keith Conley, who's a Kenner resident and former Kenner councilman, according to the mayor, was right on top of it, and pretty much by the time we were alerted of it, it was already in the process of being resolved. So we're very happy to report that that's the manner in which things are generally being taken care of. We're also undertaking a water tower feasibility study that the District 4 office has funded in Jefferson Parish. If we remember the freeze in January, there were some concerns of low water pressure, particularly at the end of the water line, which happens to be us in the city of Kenner. We have funded, to the tune of the first $150,000, a water tower feasibility study to discuss the possibility of building a water tower in the city of Kenner. There are 8 water towers in Jefferson Parish. Lafitte has one, Grand Isle has one. They're throughout Jefferson Parish. The closest one to us in Kenner is at the corner of David Drive and Veterans. There is some concern that that could be one of the reasons that sometimes we have low water pressure, particularly in freeze-type events. I will tell you, the water tower, initial cost estimates are not something that are very promising. It's a costly venture, but it's certainly, we need to find out if that's going to work, if that's something that can be done, and what would the cost be, and what would we have to do at the parish to serve the city of Kenner in that capacity. So we're committed to doing that. Lastly, we're continuing to fund from Jefferson Parish through the tourism and hotel motel taxes, the Freedom Fest coming up this Labor Day. We're still committed to it, and thankfully we have funds committed to hopefully enhance that event and continue to build it up. So we're maintaining that commitment. And then last of all, the funds are still committed and going forward for the building of the stage at Lake Town. So that's certainly moving forward. Other than that, I could talk longer. I know y'all really would love me to do that, but I just want to make sure it's clear to everyone here that we are at your disposal. If there's anything we can do, please let us know. We'll try and make this a somewhat regular appearance, so that way any concerns as they come up can be addressed in this forum as well. And also for the constituents in the city of Kenner who may not make it to the Jefferson Parish Council meetings. And so I mean everyone except Al. But anyway, so other than that, if there's any questions or any concerns from my friends and colleagues on the dais or the mayor or any department, I'm happy to respond to those, and also make Mr. Earl and Mr. Quigley available as needed. So,
Councilman Segura, you have the floor.
Thank you, Councilman. Just comment to
Councilman Segura, if you can hold just 1 second. She's got to get your microphone. Sorry.
All right, thank you. Just commenting on how fast you do work. I was passing down West Esplanade day before yesterday and noticed I couldn't see the red lights because of the trees. And as I was going to make the phone call to report it, I seen a posting that you made that you had already done so. So thank you for helping start that process to cut those trees so we can see the red lights.
Well, I'm still a resident of the city of Kenner, and I represent a portion of the city of Kenner, and perhaps more importantly, as I was leaving my dad's neighborhood, I almost ran the red light on my way to my kid's baseball game. So I made a phone call to Kelly Hand's assistant and said, please get that to Councilman Klein's office. So, you know, I'm not looking to take credit, that's for sure. But anyway.
Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President, and Councilman Pistado, thank you for coming today. Also, the mayor alluded to it, and you also said about Councilman Spears. He's not here today. Many of the people that he represents are here today. The relationship that we're working with him, everything from the RTA, the busing, to sewer, and all of those things that it takes the relationship with the council, the parish council, and the city councilman. So he's not here, but I didn't want anybody to think because he wasn't here, the many projects he's working with us, along with yourself, along with the mayor. So Councilman Spears, thank you, and hopefully one day, one of the meetings he may be able to come and do the same like you did today.
Well, thank you.
Thank
And as
you.
a point of information, that brings up a great point. The most common question that I got during our election was, where do you represent? And so for the citizens who may not be aware, the two Jefferson Parish councilmen that represent areas of the city of Kenner are myself and Councilman Spears. My area, as it relates to Kenner, basically stops at Airline Highway. It's pretty much more or less Airline Highway to the lake, from more or less David Drive to Transcontinental through the end of Kenner, and Councilman Spears picks up pretty much from Airline south. So just for anyone who needs to know. And also, please keep in mind, I'm going to beg to be begged. There are many ways in which the parish government can provide assistance and hopefully fill some gaps for the city of Kenner. Former Councilman Zahn, now Mayor Zahn, was very good at that and helped fill a lot of needs for us when I was on the council and he was on the parish council. I just want to encourage, and rest assured, he is well aware of how to ask the parish councilman currently for help for the city of Kenner. He is well equipped and good at it, which is why some of the things that I've just rattled off have been able to happen. But I'd like to encourage all of you, do the same. Please reach out to us. If there's any project you want to take on, something that you think we can help with, and if we can find a way, we want to make it happen. So that partnership is key to get the citizens in the city of Kenner the things and the resources they need. So.
Mayor Zahn?
I just want to thank Councilman Posada. Having sat in both seats, I know what the relationship is between a mayor and a parish councilman. And you're right, I do know how to pick up that phone and call you. You've only been in what, 7 months, 8 months? So, I mean,
Feels like 2 years.
It'll get worse from me. But no, it's the cooperation we get from the District 4 office, including Mike Quigley and Jason Euro. We can call them anytime, besides the councilman, of course, and his staff, and they do respond to us. So it's important that we all utilize that. For the council people elected in the audience, I hope y'all are listening to that, that it's important that we call on the parish for things that we do need. And I do appreciate the work that you and Councilman Spears do for the city of Kenner.
And I just want to say, too, thank you, Councilman, for coming to our council meeting and giving us all these updates. They're very, very helpful. And I want to mention, too, there was a meeting that took place some time ago, and your assistant was there, Jason, and he gave me his cell phone number. I had an issue that I wanted to talk to you about. And it turns out you had the thing was fixed the next day. So hats off to you, good work, and all the positive things that we're hearing that you're doing. So, and keeping us, Kenner, and working with us as a teammate is very helpful. And we appreciate the updates that you came in tonight and gave us. So thank you again.
Well, thank y'all. Appreciate it. Thank you. See y'all later. Thank you.
Next, Madam Clerk. Next, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. That will conclude the consent agenda this evening. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember DeFranchis. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Under the public appearance agenda this evening, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,377, an ordinance declaring various properties no longer needed for public purpose and authorizing the sale of the properties by public auction as per the terms of the intergovernmental agreement with Jefferson Parish. I have a motion by Councilmember Segure, seconded by Councilmember Han, to open the public hearing. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. We're now in a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to address the council in this matter, please come forward.
I see no one, Madam Clerk.
Hearing no one in the public, motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Hand to close your public hearing. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to close your hearing. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Hand for approval. Councilmember Carroll, I believe you wanted to speak? Yes. If you could put your light on.
Thank you, Mr. President. And maybe this is a question that Attorney Roussel can answer. As far as it relates to the properties, the identification within our book, it identifies the district from the parish district, District 3, as opposed to most of them, or all of them, are in the city of Kenner. If you could, the process, and there's a lot of times people get confused about the overall process of it. These sales will go on in the parish, not in the city of Kenner. And if you can just enlighten us a little bit more, the process from exception to the end of it, I'd appreciate it.
So these are properties that have been adjudicated to the city of Kenner for non-payment of property taxes, ad valorem taxes. And we have an intergovernmental agreement with Jefferson Parish, together with many municipalities throughout Jefferson Parish, Gretna, Westwego, Jean Lafitte, that the parish contracts with a third party. It's been Gilmore Auctions in the past. I don't know if it will be Gilmore for this auction. And we do not have an auction date yet. I just wanted to mention that. But they basically are, they handle the auction at the council chambers in the Yenny Building, I believe. But Jefferson Parish handles it for the city of Kenner. It's more economical to do it that way. We've been doing it that way for years, and they handle everything. But it'll be advertised, you know, and the third-party contractor handles the advertisement of the auction. And so I don't know if you want more specifics than that, but these are just properties that have been adjudicated for non-payment of taxes. So they go to public auction, and anyone can show up and register and basically bid on the properties, and obviously they take the highest bid.
Right, and that's pretty much it. But when you do find out about the date, if you can, you know, let all of us know.
Sure.
And we'll be able to put this on our Kenner website, and it will be advertised, so people will be able to know if they have an interest in it. Any more information, if a person wants to know how much money you need to put up and different things like that, they can call
They can call Jefferson Parish.
Jefferson Parish.
Yes, sir. But we will put it on our website, but Jefferson Parish does a really good job at advertising it. They put it on their website, so any questions, I think I would direct them to Jefferson Parish. Of course, they can also call the city attorney's office, and we can try to assist them as well.
Okay, and if they call the parish, what department would they call?
It would be the parish attorney's office, I believe, the property section of the parish attorney's office.
Okay, so both attorneys' office, Jefferson Parish, and also the city of Kenner.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Reyno, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Roussel, how many total properties are on this list?
There are 84. I just counted them.
Okay, great. And I knew that number, but I just wanted to put it on the record. What is owed, do you have a total of what is owed the city of Kenner in liens or whatever on these total 84 properties as a whole?
I do not.
Mr. Wetzel, can you help us with that?
Councilman, I don't think we prepared that, but we can get that information to you. We didn't prepare that for tonight, but we can certainly get that information to your office.
Okay. And these are sold to the highest bidder. So we may have a property that may have $10,000, $20,000 worth of liens from the city on that property, but we may not necessarily get that amount of money.
Correct. You might get $5,000. Yeah. So you don't get the full value of what the liens are and what's owed to the city.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that the public was aware of the fact that these are being sold, for the liens that the city has placed on them, whether they're grass cut liens or whether they're demolition liens or whatever.
Taxes, unpaid taxes.
Unpaid taxes, whatever. I mean, whatever liens on there, and I was just trying to get an idea of, how much money that would be. So if you could get that information to me. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilwoman DeFrances.
Thank you. And again, Ms. Russell, just to give a little bit more information to the public, many of those properties are really properties where the actual building that used to be on the property was demolished. The city paid for the demolition, so there's a lien because of the demolition. And although we may not get all our money back, at least we would get a portion of that money back. So there's an absolute advantage to us to go forward with this.
Yes, ma'am, that's all correct.
Thank you.
Mayor Zahn?
Thank you. Just so the public knows that if we could get these questions in the agenda meetings to expedite these meetings, we could have those answers for you. So it would work out a lot better, because we do have agenda meetings before this, but we meet with, not, you had a statement, Councilman DeFrancis, but Councilman Reno, those questions, and for anybody, that goes a lot quicker if we could get that in the agenda meetings, because she could have had that for you tonight. But we'll get it for the next council meeting.
I'll get it to you tomorrow, probably. I'm sure Day Trail Night in Mr. Wetzel's office has that information.
The board is clear, Madam Clerk.
Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,378, an ordinance adopting the operating budget for the city of Kenner for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2018, and ending June 30th, 2019, and providing for related matters. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember DeFranchis, to open the public hearing. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. We're now in a public hearing. If there is anyone in the audience wishing to address, please come forward.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 46 years. I'd like to know what the budget is. I did not attend the budget hearings. I missed them, but I would like to know what our operating budget is for this fiscal year coming.
Thank you, Mr. Al. Our operating budget for this coming year will be $66.5 million. That is down from last year's budget of $67.4.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank you.
Next.
Hearing no further discussion from the public, I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember DeFranchis, to close the public hearing. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember DeFranchis, for approval.
Councilman Reno, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the revenue side of this budget, Mr. Wetzel, can you tell the public what portion of the revenue side is derived from property tax millage, specifically the millage for streets that was just recently renewed for another 10 years?
Yes, sir. That total is $2,873,748.
And prior to this year, in 2017 budget, how much of that was used to pay off bond debt to purchase streets from Jefferson Parish?
Last year was $1.9 million.
So we had roughly $900,000 that was used for public works, for street repairs or operations of public works.
The 941 was used to fund the streets and drainage department, in addition to about $1 million from the general fund.
Okay, and when you say an additional $1 million from general fund, you talking about on maintenance projects and repairs from
For
Public
operations,
Works?
For operations for the
Operations.
streets and drainage department.
Okay. This millage was renewed last year, in the spring of last year, for an additional 10 years. The original millage was for 10.35 mils, beginning in the year 2003 and running for 15 years, which brought it to 2018. In 2016, well, actually 2017 was the vote on this, where the people voted to renew this millage. The millage now generates about $2.8 million, and there is no more debt service to this millage. So basically, this money is being used for the Public Works Department, and I believe that it should be used for what its purpose was. And on that vote of the people, it was for to acquire, to purchase, to build, and to maintain streets in the city of Kenner. According to this budget, only roughly $600,000 is in capital for that. And I just find it hard to believe that we're putting something that's generating $2.8 million, and all we're putting into streets in capital is $600,000 of that. If the administration wants to talk a little bit about it, I'll yield to them right now.
Thank you, Councilman Reno. The purpose of the millage is to acquire, construct, improve, and maintain public streets. For the sum that we receive, we are only able to maintain public streets. There's insufficient funds in that millage to be able to acquire, construct, or improve without bonding it out, which is what we did and what we recently paid off. I would like to correct the statement that that is all of that money that's going into capital for the streets. The 2030 project was a bond issuance in the amount of $42 million. 62% of what's been spent on that thus far is for streets. And what we pay every year for the bond maintenance for the debt service on that street portion of the 2030 is $2.3 million. So I don't want it to appear to anyone that we're not spending money on streets. I think the issue here is, where does the money come from? In this particular case, this is a millage that included not just construction, but also maintenance. And I think that's one of the issues that came up in my conversation, not only with you, but with Councilman DeFrancis. What is maintenance? It's easy to think that maybe maintenance is just filling potholes or putting down cement patches, but when you look at other cities and other governmental agencies and what they include in their road plans, I mean, their road plans include not just that, but it also includes street lights, street signs, right-of-way maintenance, drainage maintenance, and I said street lights. So there's a lot of things that go on for streets, to maintain streets, that aren't just filling potholes. We have a total amount that we can spend of 2.7. We can spend it on our employees in-house and have them perform the services, or we can spend it on outside contractors and have them perform the services, because that's what the capital money would go for, would be hiring outside contractors to perform the services that currently we have in-house. There are times when we want to do that, because there's sometimes it is more feasible. Outside contractors may be technically more proficient, but we can get more maintenance out of our employees. So this is really, it's a philosophy. Do we want to in-house it, as we have with many of the other services in the city, or do we want to outsource it? If we want to outsource it, then yes, we move this money into the capital budget. If we want to keep the work in-house and have our employees do it, which I think will get us a little more, we'll get we'll get more maintenance if we do it in-house, just because it's less expensive. But again, that's my 2 cents worth. That's my explanation for what that money is for.
Well, thank you for that explanation. In this budget that's being proposed, the fund balance is increasing by how much money?
The fund balance last year, I believe, was 6.9, and this year it's 9.7.
Okay. So we have roughly a $2+ million increase in the fund balance. What is the requirement for the fund balance as far as our bonds? Is it not 10%?
It would be 10% of 66.6, so
So $6.7 million fund balance is what is required.
correct.
You know, I know that the administration doesn't agree with me on this, but it's still my, what I believe is the fact that we're increasing the fund balance, and that fund balance increase is about the $1.9 million that we were spending to pay off debt. on the streets that we acquired from Jefferson Parish. So basically, instead of the money going towards streets, it's going to increase our fund balance. And I understand that we do, we should have a substantial fund balance, but the requirement is only 10% of what our budget is. So if we have a $67 million budget, then that's $6.7 million. Even if you ran it up to $7 million, you still have $2 million left over that could, part of that, instead of putting it in the fund balance, could be put toward more streets in Kenner. And when I say more streets, more street repair, we have an aging city. We have no game plan here for long-range game plan here for street maintenance. As things break, that's how we fix it. If you look at other cities, a lot of them will go in and do an assessment of the streets and then turn around and formulate a game plan to repair the worst streets until the worst streets become the best streets, and then the best streets become the worst streets. There's a long-range plan there. I don't see that here, and I know that many of my council members don't agree with, my thought process on this, but the taxpayers voted for a renewal of a millage that's dedicated to streets, and I don't think that we're getting that here. I think that basically that we freed up $1,900,000 that is no longer has debt service tied to it, and now we're using it for operational expenses. And whether you want to say that it's we're doing it in-house more than subcontracting out or whatever, it doesn't matter. There's no game plan here on the street. So that's my position on here. I've already advised the administration that unless they amend this budget in some kind of way, put more money in capital for street repairs, that I'm not going to be able to vote in favor of this budget. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Couple of comments?
Sure.
If I could. First off, 100% of the money that's coming in for this millage is going to streets. I don't think you and I disagree with that. I think it's what we're spending it on, whether it's going to operations or capital, but it's 100% is going to streets. This issue with the fund balance is a little alarming to me, and I know we have this conversation from time to time. The fund balance requirement is not the balance has to be 6.7. The minimum has to be 6.7. It's like saying, I have gas in my car, it's on empty, but I still might be able to make it another block or two. If we drop 1 penny below that 10% threshold, we trigger bond covenants, which mean what happened is we report ourselves to our bondholders and they default us. And suddenly, instead of paying $2.3 million for roads every year, next year we got to come up with $42 million to give back on the 2030 bonds. So that is the bare minimum. That's the difference between survival and municipal bankruptcy, okay? So above 6.7 is where you actually have to have your operating capital. We have a number of items that are in that fund balance that are simply things that we have the money for we haven't done yet. So if we actually do those things which are budgeted, then the fund balance drops. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and you and I we could talk about this forever. But the reality is, it's a philosophy. Should we put it in capital? Should we put it in operating? I believe, the mayor believes it should go in operating, but you're 100% correct on the street plan. We don't have a street plan. We're responding when we get a call about a pothole. So that is our commitment to you, those of you who are coming back, and those of you who will be citizens in a couple of weeks. Watch this space, because that is, after doing the research based upon the items that you brought to my attention, Councilman Reno, I actually discovered quite a few of those plans. I attached some of them to the materials I passed out, and I think that's really a good jumping off point for us here in the city.
Anything further? Mayor's on.
Thank you, Council Chairman. Councilman Reno, I agree, like my CEO just said, that they probably do need a street plan. But since we've only been here not even a year and a half yet, I would hope that the last 6 years that maybe a street plan would have been proceeded before I got here. So I can't answer that question why maybe you didn't suggest that before me. But I do want to remind you that we did a don't want to say a political piece, but we did a mail piece out to the public to inform the public that the Jefferson Chamber actually did to say, asking the people to support the tax, the road millage, the renewal of it. And I just want to read a quote from it that I have, and just so you know, it was myself, the chief, and it looks like all 7 council members, including Councilman Impostata at the time, so you were not on it, Councilman Han. It said, Kenner is rapidly growing and is the 5th largest city in Louisiana. Renewal of this necessary road millage will provide the funds for a badly needed repairs and improvements that allow for business to continue thriving in our area. Now, that was from Todd Murphy, but all of us agreed, and I think everybody remembers that, from District 1 to Councilman Impostata at the time, District 5 to our 2 at-larges, that we all put our faces and our names on that. So if things have changed since then, I don't know if that's between you and your constituents and your residents, but for right now, that's what we all agreed to at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilwoman DeFranchise.
Thank you. I'm going to mention that I had many of the same qualms that Councilman Reno had. And Ms. Fauché and I had long discussions about what exactly do we mean by maintenance. And again, because of the discussions we had and the things she just mentioned a little while ago, I felt much more comfortable. Even the federal government indicates that it involves street lights and curbing and drainage, et cetera. And so when we have those definitions already in place, it also gives a lot more credence to how we are actually utilizing that money that is available to us. That's number one. I certainly have been very committed to street repairs the entire time I've been on the council. I can tell you the very first money I spent was actually in Chateau Lakefront on a major project out there, which not only did drainage work, but because of the drainage work, the streets were dramatically improved. So I can tell you that. And I've also committed with Mr. Schreiner that I'm going to be spending some money that I have available to me on street panels. And the reason I'm getting $3 value for every dollar I'm spending on them is because we are doing them in-house. And doing them in-house means that I can do many more panels, am I not correct, Mr. Schreiner, than if we had to outsource it. So for that reason, because of the discussions and the information I was provided by Ms. Fauché and the work I'm doing with Mr. Schreiner as well, I will be voting for this. Yes, I wish we could put more money for capital per se, but I hope next year and the year after, Ms. Fauché, that maybe we can add more and more money to the capital budget for street repairs. Thank you.
Councilman Reno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tom, what do we have in the current budget for citywide street repairs, this current budget that we're in right now?
$600,000.
No, not, that's the budget that we're going to approve tonight. What do the budget that we're in right now?
That's zero.
Zero. And when I was first elected in 2012, our budget for citywide street repairs was always $600,000 to $800,000. And for the last 2 years, we've had zero in citywide capital. All I'm saying is that we renewed a millage, we retired debt that we no longer have, and it's generating an additional $1.9 million in revenues that we didn't have in prior years because that money was used to pay off the bonds to buy the streets from Jefferson Parish. So again, I just want to reiterate one more time, I can't support this budget because I don't feel like we're putting our dollars into the streets that this millage that people voted on, it's dedicated for streets. And to say we're using it for maintenance and we're using it through the Public Works Department for maintenance, we haven't increased the maintenance budget for streets in Public Works in this new budget that they're asking us to vote for tonight. So it's basically we're using that money to pay expenses of the Public Works. That's my position on it. how many, Tom, how many cement crews do we have in-house right now?
We have one crew,
One crew. And how many did we have a year ago? Do you know?
one crew.
One crew. And when I was elected in 2012, we had one crew. So the bottom line is, we haven't increased our crews, but yet we've increased revenue on this millage by $1.9 million. So again, I feel bad that I got to vote this way, but the bottom line is I can't vote for this budget knowing the fact that we have money that's dedicated millage, property tax millage for street repairs, as well as acquiring streets or building streets or maintaining streets. And I just feel like we're not using that money there. So with that, that's my final stay on this. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. And, I kind of agree a little bit with Councilman Moreno as it relates to, and Ms. Foshia about the plan. Up until the last couple of years, we may have been a little bit lazy by not putting a plan together because we had dollars in there. But I think now it is something that has been identified by the mayor. We should be, proactive than reactive with stuff like that. So I look forward for us to be able to develop a road plan for all of the districts or throughout the city, and any support that we have to give as the council people to identify or to prioritize, I would like to be a part of that committee that goes forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mayor Zahn.
And I think you probably said it best before. We can agree to disagree because we feel that 100% is going on street maintenance. I'll use one of your quotes that you've used before, is that, and I appreciate this, is that when you came in as a district councilman, you would approach many, many departments. You would say, I'd put up half and also match the rest of the half. So we still have money there that we can actually reach out to all the council people and do things like that. That's something that you said that you originated here in Kenner. I don't know if you did or not, but I mean, if it worked for you, I'm sure it works for all the other districts too. So as we're doing 100% that we feel with street maintenance, and if we have council people that do or do not want to share, I'm fine, whatever you want to do, but if they wanted to, we can do twice as much. So I would think you would agree to that maybe that is a street plan that we can start building on. Thank you.
Councilman Klon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been in office for approximately 4 years now, and when I requested street repairs, street improvements, lighting repairs, lighting improvements, the city of Kenner, sometimes outside contractors handled it expeditiously and quickly. So I want to commend the mayor's office and Public Works, et cetera, everybody who participated, that the streets in my district, I don't know if there's any potholes. There's not. If they're reported, we fix them. And our city and our streets are much better than other parishes simply around us. So I think the administration's doing a great job. And like the administration now says, with the new budget, we're going to try to have more street repairs and improvements in-house, which would cost us less money and we could do more work. So I think that's a way to improve the efficiency, even though I think it's very efficient now. So I want to congratulate, again, the mayor's office and the departments for working with me in my 4 years here. So thank you very much. I'll be voting for this budget.
The board is clear, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Councilman Skill, would you like to close?
Yes, please. As we've heard very eloquently tonight, the various concepts and opinions on definitions, I just wanted to take a little moment, because even I sometimes have had this discussion on what is a general fund. And for the viewing audience, who hopefully probably knew better than me, but just for the ones that don't, a general fund is sort of just like your own household savings account, that you put money aside for whatever emergencies may come up. But in this case, we are mandated, as you've heard from our CAO, to do this. We must have a minimum of 10% of our budget. So whenever we're in this 67, 69 million budget, we've got to have that $6 to $7 million in reserve, and we can't touch it for anything, because if we go below, then our bond rating, which means our interest rate rises. So that's like just putting money there and saying, okay, it's there, but we can't touch it. So anything above that, that rises above it. So if you do get to 8, 9, 10 million in that fund, then you can use that for your emergency purposes that may come up. But that's not just the whole issue here, as has been said, that the voters voted on a renewal of a millage that started maybe unfortunately when I was serving as acting mayor and we had to put out this message, was what was it for? And it was to understand that we were finishing paying off the roads that we had purchased from the parish and had a small portion set aside for maintenance. But at this point forward, since we would have paid off the bonds, we could use it all. Well, folks, I got to say that if you look around the city, yes, we do have streets that need maintenance, but there's a lot that is not seen, and we've seen this, unfortunately, in New Orleans. When they have their heavy rain days lately, what happens? Their streets are flooding because their drainage is not up to par. So we need to address our drainage before we can even consider adding new streets and repairing the streets we have. So the maintenance that is referred to that this millage is used for goes straight to the heart of that. We need to get in there and look at cleaning out all of our drain lines and ensuring that they are working at 100% capacity. Because I can tell you, I hear throughout the city, whenever we have our hard rains, there's reports of flooding on streets. And a lot of that is not just because it's a heavy rain, it's because the rain don't have no place to go. The pipes are cluttered with trash, dirt, rocks, and debris that get into it, and we haven't cleaned them as thoroughly as we should because we didn't have the maintenance dollars. So in my talks with the administration, I'm confident that this is what they're looking into, and we have, I think, in the Capitol to buy a new vac truck, which is to help in that direction to clean out these drain lines, to get them clean so that when we have rain events, we're not putting water in anybody's houses. So that is what this millage allows, and I'm confident and hopeful that we start with that. Then in the years to come, after we get that done, then we can go back and say, okay, we've got our drains clean, the water's going out like it should. Now let's address the repair of streets that need some maintenance on them. And then, I don't know, but maybe somebody will come up with an idea that we need a new street somewhere. We don't have much land left in the city that doesn't have a street in it already. So there's very, very few ideas or projects that are out there to put in new streets. So this money is definitely to be used for all of those concepts, new streets as well as the maintenance of what we have. But first off, we need to maintain and get our streets and drainage in order, and then maintain the streets before we obviously need a new street. So with that, I think this budget is been fair across the board. You know, we've all had a whole day's worth of budget hearings with every department. We've heard, you know, their issues, and that's what's the final product now that's before us to vote on. So I just encourage all members up here to vote in favor of this budget and let the city and administration move forward with it, and then hopefully, as the mayor said earlier, find some other revenue streams to get us back up to the annual budgeting that we had and need to be. So thank y'all, and I urge y'all to please vote for it.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-1. Councilmember Reyno opposed. Item 9C is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,379, an ordinance adopting the capital budget for the city of Kenner for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2018, and ending June 30th, 2019. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember DeFrances, to open the public hearing. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. We're now in a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to address.
Mr. Morella.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 46 years. Again, Ms. Foshee, capital budget, please.
Thank you, Mr. Al. The proposed capital budget is 4.14, and it includes matching funds for a variety of infrastructure projects, as well as critically needed computers and vehicles.
$4.14
Yes, sir.
million. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Morella. I see no one else, Madam Clerk.
I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember DeFranchise to close the public hearing. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember DeFranchise for approval tonight.
Councilman Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll make my comment real quick here. I'm not going to be voting for the capital budget as well because of what I stated in the prior vote on 9B. Thank you.
The board is clear, Madam Clerk.
Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-1. Councilmember Reyno is opposed. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. We have none. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution calling a public hearing to determine whether the structures located at 700 Jerry Drive, Kenner, Louisiana, shall be abated by repair, rehabilitation, demolition, or removal. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution calling a public hearing to determine whether the structures located at 204 Georgetown Drive, Kenner, Louisiana, shall be abated by repair, rehabilitation, demolition, or removal. I have a motion by Councilmember Hand, seconded by Councilmember Carroll. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13C is a resolution selecting the Times-Picayune as the official journal for the City of Kenner for the fiscal year of 2018-2019. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember Segura. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13D is a resolution approving the submission of an application and request for funding to the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development for the Safe Routes to Public Places program to improve pedestrian safety to the Kenner Discovery Health Sciences Academy School and the construction of a fully separated bicycle path on Loyola Drive from 32nd Street to Joe Yenny Boulevard. I have a motion by Councilmember Hand, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 12,380, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Command Construction, LLC, in the amount of $1,515,555 for the construction of drainage improvements to University City and Audubon Place subdivision areas, Phase 3, Tulane Drive from Kilgore Place to Houston Place, and Kilgore Place from Tulane Drive to Northwestern Drive. State project number H010107, City of Kenner project number 2012-001-DR, in accordance with seal bid number 18-6428 for the Department of Public Works. I have a motion by Councilmember Hand, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Council members, please vote. Oh,
Councilman Reyno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can the administration, or Tom, can you give us, on this particular drainage project, what is our match as far as the city goes on this?
I don't know the dollar. The city is responsible for 100% of the design cost. During construction, the city is responsible for 10%.
10%. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Tom, I had a couple of follow-up questions as well. The drainage improvements that's referred to in this bill, this is going to impact University City and Audubon Place in a very positive manner, is it not?
Yes, sir, it is.
Could you describe it to some extent?
Well, it's an extension of the previous two phases in University City. This is the third. When the project was approved, And you're probably very familiar, they give you the money in phases. They don't give you all the money at once. This is the third phase. This is approximately, I'd say, 600 feet of street where the whole street is being replaced and a new drain line, a larger drain line. So all of that will be restored to its best condition, and the drainage will be drastically improved in that area.
Well, approximately when could we see the construction commence?
We probably issue the notice to proceed within a month.
Wonderful. Okay. I know that's well needed in that area. It's very important for drainage, and of course, this would be a big help, so thank you. And that's Councilwoman DeFrances.
Mr. Schreiner, I know I did a lot of drainage work, as I mentioned, when I first got into office. Am I not correct? Some of those old lines, the diameter is so small that that's one of the major problems. And with the new pipes we're putting, the diameters of those pipes is substantially larger, which of course means the flow of water is going to be much, much faster through those pipes and keep those areas possibly from flooding. Am I not correct?
Yes, that's correct. The old criteria, design criteria was for a 2-year storm. Now, it's no less than a 10-year storm. so.
Absolutely. We just wanted the public to understand why we needed to replace those pipes
Sure.
with the increased diameter. Thank you.
Board is clear, Madam Clerk.
Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15B is a resolution approving Amendment Number 2 to the engineering agreement with Digital Engineering and Imaging Incorporated, dated December 4, 2013, concerning the installation of a new force main from Chateau Transfer Station to Wastewater Treatment Plant Number 3, increasing the agreement amount by $5,759 and extending the term of the agreement by 2 years. Have a motion by Councilmember Klein, seconded by Councilmember DeFrances. Hearing no discussion, council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is a resolution approving change order number 2 to the agreement with Crown Architectural Metal Company, LLC, dated July 18, 2017, for an addition of 18 calendar days to the contract time for the roof repairs to Rivertown Main Theater for the Department of Parks and Recreation. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Segura. Hearing no discussion, council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is a resolution approving change order number 1, 2, 3, and 4 to the contract with Gottfried Contracting, LLC, dated May 31st, 2017, regarding sewer lift station improvements at Ole Miss Drive and 35th Street for a net increase of $20,319.54 and to add 108 calendar days for the Department of Public Works. I have a motion by Councilmember Hand, seconded by Councilmember Segura. Hearing no discussion, council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance authorizing the creation of the class of Deputy Chief of Administration of Fire Department. Item 16B is an ordinance authorizing the public hearing and approving the proposed fiscal year 2018 annual action plan of the Community Development Block Grant, CDGB program, in the amount of $456,196 in the Home Investment Partnership Program grant in the amount of $176,000 for the Community Development Department. Item 16C is an ordinance amending the 2015, 2016, and 2016-17 capital budgets to reallocate $1,332,855 from funds received from BP settlement for the reconstruction of new warehouse to provide funding for a vacuum truck, bucket truck, and various capital needs. Item 16D is an ordinance ratifying the proposal from Safety National Casualty Company with an AM Best rating of A, excellent for excess workers' compensation insurance for the period of July 1st, 2018 through July 1st, 2019. Item 16E is an ordinance ratifying the policy and rates for commercial liability insurance package for the City of Kenner for the policy year of July 1st, 2018 through July 1st, 2019. Item 16F is an ordinance ratifying an emergency purchase of an air conditioning system for Kenner City Hall, Building A, in the amount of $15,800 by Beacon Air Conditioning for the Department of General Services. Item 16G is an ordinance ratifying the purchase of a 5-foot 550-780 Evolution Shop Fan from Genuine Parts Company doing business as Napa Auto Parts in the amount of $7,305.06 for the maintenance garage for the Department of Fleet Management. Item 16H is an ordinance authorizing the utilization of state contract number 4400006361 to purchase 150 active shooter body armor and accessories from Barney's Incorporated, Barney's Police Supplies, in the amount not to exceed $50,000 for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16I is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Lights on America Incorporated in the amount of $11,940 to furnish LED light fixtures for the Kenner City Park in accordance with letter bid number 18-1573 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16J is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from National Polyfab Company to supply mesh, roll, wire, rebar, metal keyway, and chairs on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 18-6431 and an amount not to exceed $30,000 for the Department of Public Works. Item 16K is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from PCMG Incorporated to purchase NAS storage for Kenner Television in accordance with telephone bid number T-18-2591 in the amount of $6,957 for the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications. Item 16L is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Rivertown Collision Center, LLC, for a 2-year contract to provide automotive body and damage repairs on all city vehicles and equipment on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 18-6430 in an amount not to exceed $75,000 for the Department of Fleet Management. Item 16M is an ordinance approving a re-subdivision of lots 8-A, 10-A, 14-A, 16-A, square 102, and 2 lots 8-A1, square 102, Veteran Heights subdivision, and amending the City of Kenner's official zoning map, ordinance number 11,062, Unified Development Code, more particularly rezoning lot 8-A1, square 102, Veteran Heights subdivision from C1 Neighborhood Commercial and R2 Two-Family Residential to C1 Neighborhood Commercial. Item 16N is an ordinance amending the 2017-2018 operating budget to budget funds received for building permits from the Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport Expansion Program during the 2017-2018 fiscal year that were not previously budgeted and to amend court fine revenue. Item 16O is an ordinance amending Chapter 15, Section 56A of the Kenner Code of Ordinances by adding no parking signs on both sides of 42nd Street from Florida Avenue to Connecticut Avenue. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees. We have none. Item 18 is new business. We have none. Item 19 is unfinished business and a motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
First, we have Larry and Karen Daigle. I believe that they are no longer here, huh? Okay. Next, we have Michelle Harris. Is she here? Good evening. If you will, name and address, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Harris, and I reside at 186 East Oakland Drive, St. Rose, Louisiana, 70087. And today I wanted to discuss the new insurance that we're going to be having in the new fiscal year. I understand healthcare costs are rising, and we're having to make some decisions and change the different insurance carrier we have so that we can potentially provide a better quality of care and moving forward controlling our costs. However, I want to make sure this administration understands that a large portion of us are not going to have our doctors. And let me tell you, for those of us who are, for example, diabetics, we cannot even get an appointment with an endocrinologist at Ochsner for 6 months, and I verified that at 4:45 today. I asked as a new patient, how long would it take me to get an endocrinologist appointment, which means I have to have, most people who are diabetics have to have labs every 3 months. A diabetic will now have no labs done for 66 months. That's 2 lab appointments that will be skipped, with potentially, for those of us who are more severe than myself, they could go into diabetes, diabetic issues, they can lose toes, they have amputations. So we're dealing with a situation with Ochsner where they're overextending themselves, expanding this plan and there's not enough doctors. I asked the auctioneer representative at the actual insurance welcoming that we had, and I said, well, how are y'all going to maintain the fact that standard of care is 10-day turnaround for somebody to see a doctor if they have an emergency? He said, Michelle, there's a doctor shortage. I said, okay, so how are you going to handle that when you're adding more patients into your system and you don't have enough doctors and the state is reducing funds to medical schools? How are you going to sustain that? He said, we don't know. So we are putting our hands, the employees here at the city, we're putting ourselves in the hands of a healthcare system that just doesn't have the resources to sustain us. So I just wanted to make sure the administration understood that that's what we're dealing with the auctioneer side of the plan, that they just don't have enough doctors per the own auctioneer representative that I spoke with at the employee. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that we are having to take that long.
You want to put the books in here?
Mayor Zahn?
So when you say the administration, just so you know, if the public knows this, this doesn't mean that Ben Zahn doesn't have the same issue. And just so the public also knows, there's two choices. There's Oshner and East Jefferson.
Yes, and the East Jefferson plan is managed, it's basically similar to a capitated plan. It's managed by East Jefferson Group and a LSU Group. Those are the only two groups of doctors that are approved for that plan. And then the primary first plan is only auctioneer doctors.
I got how it works. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not immune to it either. So when I presented this to the council and the council adopted this, I think we all agree that we all might have that issue. So no one here, it's not like this just affects Michelle Harris. This affects everyone, and including myself, my staff, this council, y'all staff, anyone who's going to be here.
Right, but the
This
main
this
issue is not the
you
change.
know,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We can thank, other people for the health care that we have. We could get into that political discussion, but I don't think we want to do that tonight. But what we're dealing with is what we're dealing with. I had to look at it the same way, and I had to choose between Osh and East Jefferson and try and see if some of those doctors would switch over.
Yes, and my thing is not so much about the plans themselves. Like I said, I've been doing healthcare most of my life before I came here, so I understand the costs associated and why you have to make those decisions. What I'm telling you is that auctioneer cannot sustain us. That is what I'm sharing with you. Anytime it's 6 months to see a specialist, and a 10-day turnaround is basically their version of an urgent care for a lower copay. So you see whatever doctor is available. You never have a consistent physician. It's not the questioning the fact that we have to make this decision. It's the quality of care that our constituents are going to receive now that we have to accept these plans.
Our healthcare consultant is here tonight. I saw him in the back of the room. If he's still here, I'm sure he'd be glad to meet with you and go over some of those details.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Jack Zewe. Mr. Zewe, I was going to stay over here. Yeah, thank you. Name and address, sir.
Jack Zewe. Jack Zewe, 3221 Illinois, in Kenner, Louisiana. I'd ask that we stop, Madam Clerk, you were going to hand some things out. I'd like to stop the clock and let the council members at least take a look at this letter that's being handed out. Also, the administration got copies. I want to give you the opportunity to look at it first. Everybody okay? I'm asking for this council to consider, and administration support, a resolution reaffirming the position of the Jefferson Parish School Board regarding Mr. Yanni and his behavior. More specifically, his recent behavior, which aired on WWL Tuesday night and the Morning Advocate on Wednesday morning. If the public knew the backstory regarding Mr. Yanni's behavior, there would be outrage. This council voted in 2016 asking for a resolution. There was no comment by this council regarding his behavior and his participation in city-owned playgrounds. I'd like this council to consider reaffirming through a resolution support of the school board's resolution, but also banning Mr. Yanni from playgrounds owned by this city. Okay? Simply put, in my opinion, Mr. Yanni, by his own actions, continues to damage the public image of this parish, and in turn, he is hurting the public image of this city.
Sometimes it works.
We, the citizens of Kenner, deserve better. Recently, a comment made by Mr. Yanni was, "I have not been charged with a crime." What happened to morality? If you have not been charged with a crime, your wrongdoing is okay. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Mr. Al Morella, name and address, sir.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 46 years. I want to direct this question to Mayor Zahn. I'd like to know why VFW Post 7732 Memorial Day ceremony was relocated to Kenner City Park back here, and I want to know when that decision was made. Stop my time if he wants to answer me now, Councilman Wilmot.
Is he going to answer?
Mr. Morella, you know what I'm going to get you for Christmas?
You can give me the answer to my question right now. and that-
I'm
I'll
coming.
consider
I'm
that a
coming.
Christmas gift.
I'm coming, but I'm going to get you.
Early.
I'm going
I'll
to get you a
consider that
gift
an
for
early
Christmas.
gift.
What's that?
You can give me my answer to my question
Mr.
right
Morella.
now, and I'll consider that an
Mr.
early
Morella,
Christmas
it's
gift.
coming in the form of a Christmas gift because I'm gonna get you like a little iPad because it'll get you all the
Don't need
weather.
an iPad.
Well, no, you do because
I
you keep
keep
coming up with
everything
these.
up here, Mayor.
Is it my turn? or
Can't
Mr.
hack
Morales?
this.
Give the mayor a chance.
No, I do need to get you something because we post everything on Facebook while we're doing things. Unfortunately, you don't have an iPad. It was a joke. If you don't want one, that's fine. But we posted on Facebook. We let out as much as we could on social media that we moved it because had you had access to the internet or maybe watch TV, we had bad weather approaching. I know no bad weather approached at that hour, but we can't take that chance. Wait, it started raining. We cannot take that chance when we're setting up a microphone, electricity, putting veterans up there. I'm not going to put them up in rain or put them in raincoats. I've looked at other things at other municipalities, other cities. Sometimes it happens to us. It catches us, people are sitting there with umbrellas. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that. So I was joking about the iPad, but maybe we do need to talk about how we get some notices to you on why it's moved. Is that why you went out there? Because I actually questioned why you weren't there publicly.
No, when you through answering my question, I got some rebuttal for you.
Okay, well,
I
that's,
just need my answer right now, man.
maybe I'm not finished answering
When you
his
through
question. 'cause
answering my
I thought
question,
I thought I
then
did.
I'll take the mic again and rebut what you say.
I think that answers the question. I think
Okay, you
anybody
through.
that-
Well, I'm just trying to find out if you're through, man. Are you through?
I think any sane individual would understand why we moved it.
First of all, man, I don't buy it. I don't buy what you say, and I'm going to tell you why I don't buy it. I've been a member of this post for almost 6 years, and this is the first time, and there's other members that's been a member of this post a lot longer than me. This ceremony was never relocated from Veterans Park till now. Now, I'm going to tell you what I believe this is. I believe this is an attempt to promote Kenner City Park at the expense of our ceremony in Veterans Park. And there's a committee who worked long and hard to build that park to what it is today, and I take offense to that. I would have rather seen the ceremony been canceled and rescheduled for another day than to move it to Kenner City Park. And I can tell you, You hearing it tonight because this meeting happens to be before my VFW meeting. But my commander, he's next up on the list. Now, I don't appreciate it, and I can tell you right now, like I told him, I will not attend this ceremony whenever it's moved from that Veterans Park. I think it's a disservice to my post, and it's a disservice to the committee who worked long and hard to dedicate that park to the veterans. But I don't buy it.
My turn.
For years, we've had our ceremony there. It's never been moved until now. And it's right on the heels of the Christmas Village being moved from South Kenner back here to North Kenner in Kenner City Park, and Kenner City Park being promoted now every December. That's why I'm thinking like I'm thinking right now, Mayor.
My turn.
Now, if we through with this, I'll move on to the next item.
You got
The next item is, you talked earlier about businesses. You talked about the Esplanade Mall. About 2 years ago, Mr. O'Brien, who owns O'Brien Chiropractic, that has the blighted tennis courts right next door to him, purchased that property and wanted to expand his business. There's no expansion taking place. The blighted tennis courts are still there. So I'd like to get an update on as to what happened to this project. Now, one more item before my time expires, which
Your time
it is now
has
anyway.
expired, Mr.
One more item.
Your time
I would
has
like to
expired.
see a resolution put forth by this council supporting Councilwoman Moreno and Councilman Williams in New Orleans.
Your time's
on their
expired.
investigation into the stunt that one entity
Hello,
contracted for
Mr. Murillo. Your time has expired.
entity in this city.
Thank you, Mr. Murillo. Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to address anything.
Hit your gavel. Hit your gavel. Hit your gavel.
Have quiet, please. Mr. Mayor, if you will.
Obviously, Mr. Morello already had the answer that he wanted to believe, but I just have to say for the record, and I would ask Councilman Hand, Councilman Wilmot, Councilman DeFrancis, Councilman Segura, I believe that you were busy that day, Councilman Carroll, because you had called me. Some of the elect council people who comes to mind is Councilman George Brannigan, possibly Councilman Brian Brennan, and Hayes. I don't think Councilwoman-elect McKinney was there because she had another commitment. But you would all have to agree that it definitely was crowded and a lot of war veterans were there. So if anybody was hurt, it was obviously isolated to one resident of District 5. That it's unfortunate that that one resident within walking distance probably, or for sure within a minute drive, could not make it over there because some ulterior motive and some sinister plot was being plotted supposedly by the administration, and obviously you all also, council people, because you all attended without any problem. We all know that that's not the truth. We all know what we witnessed, and the VFW hall, at least what I saw, was there. I don't know what VFW hall Mr. Morello is speaking of, but there was a VFW hall, and the gentleman, Councilman DeFrancis, you might remember his name. I don't remember his name offhand, but in fact, you, Councilman DeFrancis, myself, and Councilman Segura followed them. If any of you all did too, I left quickly, so I'm sorry if I'm not mentioning you all, but we followed them over back to Veterans Park to lay the wreath where it belongs. So had Mr. Morello attended the thing within a minute drive of his home, he would have been able to come with us over to the other place where we still do what we need to do for the veterans that serve our country. Look, there's nobody more patriotic than us in this council chambers. We do what we have to do. I'm not going to sit veterans in pouring down rain. It didn't come to that point, but it still did drizzle a little bit. We're going to put them in a safe environment. We're going to continue to do those things in the city of Kenner. I'm not taking anything away from District 1 with Christmas. I'm not taking anything away from District 2. We try to share back. Like Councilman Carroll would tell you, we came back for Christmas and did some things in District 1. We came back to your district that day. We try to treat all the districts equally, and I think we do a pretty good job along with y'all's help. So just for the record, nothing was to expose Kenner City Park, because you know what? It doesn't really need any exposure. It's getting a lot. With the dog park and all the things we've put out there, it's crowded. Pass by any day and you'll see that the park is highly populated with our residents from all over Kenner enjoying District 5's Kenner City Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Segura.
Thank you. Mr. Morrell, first off, let me assure you, whenever your presence is not in our presence, we wonder where you are. We, at various meetings when you're not here, as the mayor said, at the memorial service when we did not see you, we all wondered where you were, because we do look for your safety. We don't know what's going on if something happened to you, because we know you like coming to our events and being present. So we do notice that for your safety, no other reason, no sinister means, we just are concerned. But in this case, and let me say this, I know we got some news media here, so don't let the weather guys get offended, but that's the best job in the world, where you can predict weather and then be wrong and still have a job. Because when they tell us this storm is coming in and we have to make adjustments to outdoor events, we have to do it on a timeline to get things in place for an alternate location. So based on the weather reports that's predicted this massive storm coming through, yes, the mayor and administration and some of us were involved in the discussions, said let's move it to the pavilion because it's indoor and it will accommodate the crowd. And it was fully crowded. I mean, we had all sorts of veterans in there. We had the veterans band playing, the various posts, and we had our ceremony. The commander that was the guest speaker, Commander Roy, was just fabulous to give us his story of his plane crash. So we all got to relish in the moment of what it was for, to honor our veterans on Memorial Day. And then by the time the ceremony was ended and we noticed and obviously realized, well, that storm didn't quite make it on the timetable that was predicted, as the mayor said, several of us met back over here at the Veterans Park with the commander. That's your commander? Okay, so he was there and he said, let's go back to the park, and we went back here and did the official reef laying, as you said, has been done many years. But those many years was when it was dry weather, not when it was rainy weather. You've never done this event in a rainstorm, correct? No, that's right. So we have to look out for the safety of all of the participants and understand that this was the thing to do. I agree. They may not all come out like planned because the weatherman predict rain and he was wrong. But the rain did come when we were over here laying the reef, and it did start raining. So if we had been there, we would have gotten wet at the end of the ceremony. So just understand, we're doing these things for the safety and the well-being of everybody. There's no sinister thing going on, particularly for our veterans. I mean, any veterans here tonight, please stand up and be recognized, because I want to thank y'all for your service. So please stand up. So just bear in mind that we're not out here doing things sinisterly. It is for a valid reason, based on the information that we had for that day. So thank you for your comments, but we do, and like I said, when you're not here, we're all, where's Mr. Al at? Where is he at? We don't know where he's at. Is he okay? Anybody hear anything? So look, we are checking on you.
Mayor's on.
Yeah, real quick before you speak, Councilman, I do want to, I should not have forgotten this person. I thought about it when I sat back. Besides the individuals I named from the council that were there, Chief Glazer was actually there. Definitely should remember that Chief Glazer was there, because Chief Glazer actually filled in for me because I was a little late from a personal matter, and he did a fantastic job. So Chief Glazer was there, along with the council people and the council-elect that I mentioned. Thank you, Chief Glazer, for doing it.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd just like to reiterate basically what has been said by the administration and council persons who were present. The actual event was well done. I mean, and as far as the preparation for it, it was a lot. You can see there's a lot of time that went into it, organizing, and having it outside could have been a potential problem. So it was moved out of pre-thought and thoughtfulness to try and make sure that the event wouldn't be canceled, that we'd have something that was very nicely done. And my hat's off to administration for getting that done It was really, really nice. Even my wife attended, so we had the both of us there, which was nice for me to be able to do. But I thank all the servicemen who have served and those who have lost their lives. So next we have Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Mr. Morell, I want to thank you for your concerns for District 1 as it relates to the Christmas in the Park. You are correct. It was moved to North Kenner, but the original Christmas in the Park was at Veterans Park, and then it was moved to South Kenner by Heritage Park under Guinea administration. There was some concern about adding more to the Christmas in the Park from logistical issues. So the council, we all decided to move it for this year there. There was an ice ring that was brought in, but I did get a commitment from the mayor that we did not move any of the lights. We did not move any of the attractions. And then this is because there are some logistical concerns about people who live on the south side to be able to get on the north. But all of the lights were still there, and my conversation with the new recreation director is to add more to it. And we're going to be talking to different groups, so we'll have two. I mean, sometimes it is a problem to get to the north side, but we are not shutting down the Christmas in the Park. The lights never move. We're going to be adding more attractions there. We're going to be getting more involvement from the churches and the civic organizations to be able to put on different events there, too. So, again, I really appreciate your concerns, but it's not going away, and we're going to have it just as festive as it was before. But now we have two spots to go. We have the north side, which will have a main attraction of the ice skating ring, and we will have the exact same thing we had before. So we look forward to that again for this year coming up for Christmas Village. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. And I believe
Council Chairman?
Mayor's on. Sure.
Sorry, thank you. And I was just thinking, my CEO reminded me, when we were actually there and we went from one spot to the next, there is talk right now going on between myself, Councilman Segura, you, Councilman Hand, but Councilman Brennan will be sitting in that seat, of maybe continuing this in District 5 and coming back and laying that wreath in District 2, because it will be a parade that we can actually do to pay better tribute to our veterans. That is something that we're sitting back and we're thinking about, and that's what happens. When you have to change things sometimes you start sitting around and brainstorming, and that's what happens. And I think that if we can actually pull that off, I'm not promising it, but if Councilman Brennan and Segura and myself can get that together with our Chief of Police, that a parade for our veterans from District 5 to District 2 would be great. And you lay that wreath where it belongs, but it starts and it lets everybody see in the city of Kenner how patriotic we really are. Hopefully, Mr. Morello will show up at District 2 at Veterans Park so he can enjoy it. We would appreciate he'd be there, but we'd love to see him also in District 5 at the Pavilion. Thank y'all.
Very good. Councilman Segura.
Thank you. Yes, Mayor, I agree that that's a fabulous plan, and one thing that I meant to add earlier for Mr. Morell, and actually for the sake of all of our veterans who are not as young as me, maybe, but having that memorial ceremony in Veterans Park is very, very, very hot. It is very hard to be there with the heat on a good sunny day. So having it at the pavilion where it was climate controlled with air conditioned, but still give it the dignity of the ceremony, and now adding this process of parading over to the park for the least laying of the wreath, will just round it out and make it a whole lot, presumably, better for your generation to be in the cool room, where I know it would be much nicer than sitting out in that hot sun sweltering. Because I've seen that, I've heard comments from people how hot it is in May for that ceremony, and this could be the result. Let's put it inside, do it where it's nice and cool for the speeches, the music, and then parade over and lay the wreath, and then finalize there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Segura. Next, we have Reverend Michael Austin, Sr. Name and address, sir. Microphone.
time on.
Yes, sir.
Reverend Michael Austin Sr., 600 Hanson Place, Kenner, Louisiana. I'd like to first take this time out to thank this council president, Tom Woodmont, to all our mayor, and especially to our council, District 1, Greg Carroll, and to all of you here tonight. I'm standing here tonight because on the behalf of Armand Brown, whose life was taken by a Kenner police officer, SWAT team, about a year and a half ago now. And we did inform you the last time that we were here that we will be back, and we are back, and we will be back again until this matter has been solved. We just want to let you know that we're not going anywhere. We stand here tonight in numbers, and as you can see in the audience, it was just 1 or 2 rows last time, but we have quite a few folks that are here tonight. And to this Kenner Police Department, as well as to this Police Chief Glazer, who's sitting in front of me right here. I'm not here to bash, to put down Mr. Glazer as being the police chief. I know better than that. I'm not here to bash anybody, but I still need to let you know that this young man, from the footage that I saw, he was murdered. And we are not satisfied whatsoever. Justice will prevail. It's not going to go away. We are not going to go away. And we are going to stand for this young man because his mother and father that is with us tonight. Also, we're glad to have these pastors, Pastor Kenner, Pastor Matthews, Pastor Mitchell was here earlier, the NAACP, the attorneys that are here, Reverend Byron Clay and Kaylin Clay, and a few others that stand and that sitting in this audience with us tonight. So we hear numbers. We're not going away. We want justice. We are not going to sit around and allow for our young men, women, whoever, to be shot by anybody and not think that we're not going to do and stand for justice. Chief, we have sat down, me, myself, and I, and Reverend Clay, and others on our board. We're trying, and we're conducting meetings now on when a person is stopped, and especially in the 1st District. We need to educate our people when you're stopped by law enforcement on how to act so these things won't happen in the future. And we will be getting with you, Chief, because we want some feedback from the police department on when someone is stopped, what the officer will say or what we need to do, how to act or how to interact. We need some help, so we're going to be reaching out to you for this help. And we would appreciate that we receive your help, which I know we will. In closing, no one who's here knows how it feels to lose a son at the hands of anyone. There's a lot of killing been going on, and I can only speak about District 1. It's a lot of killing, not just by police. I mean, we have killing, black on black killing, white on white killing. This mess needs to stop. Enough is enough. And it's bad. It's all over the country, going back to law enforcement. When law enforcement, we see in this just killing folks with no weapon. Going back to little brother Brown talking about, and I'm not going to elaborate that much on this case, he had a butter knife and he was killed. He didn't have no weapon in his hand. He was killed. He was murdered by the hands of the Kenner Police Department. It is absolutely sickening. I have children. I have grown children. That could have been me, standing in the shoes of this mother and this father, have to suffer this every night. Who would say, Chief, I don't need you to say that my time is up. No. We have a council president sitting up there. He says when the time is up. You're not going to do that, Chief. Order. I don't know, maybe you don't. You don't know me that well, but you will get to know me. And I don't be talked about out of hand by the chief. You are a service to the people. You are to serve and protect. I don't have any more to say. Thank you very much, Council President, for letting me and letting us speak tonight. God bless this council and bless each and every one that is here.
Do you have a motion? That's all that we have comments. Does anybody want to make any comments before we adjourn? No? You move? Any second? Second, we're adjourned.